I choose to speak my piece,
Yes.
right? So, and it's not Piece, it's Peace.
Usually those that are close to you that try to push your buttons,
Yes.
make you react, like just pushing, poking, man.
Yep. A person being in an abusive relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that term before, and I'm not gonna be or pretend to be naive around what's considered an abusive relationship, right? It's just a term that I've heard expressed multiple times, and I've grown to, in my understanding, right, that when the physical abuse, right, that people subject themselves to, like, that's a very real thing. You see it happening quite often. You kind of step back and ask the question, like, how did this situation between these two people who once professed love towards each other get to the point where they're physically harming or imposing hurt and pain, physically imposing pain on each other, right?
Yes.
One to another. So I'm not picking either side, right? And then, how does one get to that point, right? What were the signs, right? Or what were the signs and cues missed? And then psychological abuse. What are the signs of that? And what constitute the psychological abuse, right? Like, and I get it, right? Like the way, and I would presume that it's the manner in which they speak to one another, or one partner speaks to the other partner in that relationship. So, which it's expressed as abuse because it carries a lot of negative energy and negative connotations, right?
Yes,
and based on whatever is said. And I've grown, and we've discussed where in a discussion or in an exchange, right, of words, like I choose to speak my piece,
yes.
right? So, and it's not Piece, it's Peace, right? So I recognize that you can point out several of my imperfections, and in the exchange, right? And I can choose to accept, your perspective of my imperfections. I can choose to reject everything that you say. I say, no, that's not true. But there's also, I believe, like, I can choose to acknowledge, which is like, I'm not accepting it, I'm not rejecting it, I'm acknowledging whatever you speak about my imperfections. I can acknowledge that, yes, I am imperfect, right? And thank you for, recognizing that I am imperfect, and even taking the liberty of pointing them out, right? And now I can react to everything that you said, especially if it's charged with a lot of negative energy,
yes.
And emotion, or I can speak my piece, Peace, because I've grown and elevated enough to know that if you throw fire, I throw more fire, we're just going to create a bigger fire.
Yes.
And in the end, we're both getting burnt. So I can, if you throw fire, okay, I'm going to have to put some water on this flame, right? So I'm going to speak my piece towards whatever is thrown, which is, yes, I'm imperfect, right? I have things within myself that I am cultivating, right? Like I am growing, I am evolving.
Yes.
However, unfortunately, I'm not there yet, and I also have to recognize that I may never become perfect. However, I'm going to pursue, I'm always going to pursue improvement and growth, and that's my piece, generically on the situation. Now, if a person continues to attack, or continue to throw flame, at this point, I can choose to reject, right?
Yes.
I can choose to reject and say, well, and I don't have to say anything. I can just to myself, like, no, I'm not going to accept any of these things, right? So that's how I've kind of found a solution to what would be considered the psychological abuse or the psychological attacks. Like, I'm not going to accept any of those things, because I've already acknowledged, right, like certain deficiencies. I've already expressed, my peace and my desire to, like, I'm a work in progress and I'm improving. Yeah. And I've also not reciprocated in kind and saying, well, you, right? Because then that's just adding more fire to the fire. Like, they say more fuel to the fire. No, that's my fire, right? Yeah. Like, and then, so, but is it, it's not, I don't think it's an easy subject to approach, and it takes a lot of personal development and personal growth to be able to take that position with every and anybody, right? Like, whether it's an intimate relationship or just a relationship of friendship or just a relationship of family, to recognize that, like, okay, well, how do I respond to this? Right? Respond, not react. And, and that's in my practice in life, that's what I've kind of, be able to surmise so far. No, like, the personal development part of it, man, you have to literally develop yourself to be in that space where you don't react to stuff, man. Yes. Every day unfailingly. Yes. It's usually those that are close to you that try to push your buttons. Yes. Make you react. Like, just poking, man. Yep. And geez, it does takes a lot of personal development. Yes. A lot. Man. Yeah, and it's a good indicator that I see for me to, like, look within myself to see if something does make me feel a particular way, then it's a good indicator for me to say, well, why does this particular phrase, subject, comment, impact me and make me feel this way, right? And then that's where I start my work, on myself.
Thank you so much for watching our videos. If you're enjoying the content you're seeing, go ahead, click that subscribe button, and stay tuned for what we got coming up next.